hello. Hi. How are you? Welcome to the MaxBang. My name is Max, and I like to drink coffee. MaxBang is a half-hour hangout. I love that. So grab a cup of coffee, and how's your mother? The goal with these is to take about a half hour and chill. Reflect on stuff, reflect on what happened last week, reflect on what's coming up this week, and build a community. This week we are drinking. Are you ready for this? This is a fucking bananas move. It's not homemade, but I brought it home and I put some more ice in it. Spoilers, it's iced. We went to... Let me back up for a second. Typically what happens in the mornings with Max, I wake up and then Brittany's asleep. The dog's asleep. The cat's asleep. Everybody's fucking asleep. I wake up, I go over to the dog and I'm like, hey buddy, do you need to go outside? Do you need to pee or anything? And he looks up at me and he blinks a couple of times and he's like, fuck you, I'm going back to bed. Puts his head back down right in his pillow, falls back asleep. Highway ridiculous. I have no idea how this is like the one dog in the world who never wants to wake up and do shit. Anyway, so then when Brittany wakes up, I'm like, excuse me. As soon as Brittany wakes up, then the dog wakes up, and Jack's like, hey, what's up? What's going on? And then he gets into bed with her, and they both fall back asleep for like another 20 minutes. Not to blow anybody up. Anyway, eventually, when everyone's up, we decide to take Jax for a walk, and typically, if I haven't already made coffee, or if it's super hot out like today, we walk and get iced coffees or whatever. Today, unfortunately, it was so fucking hot that I'm walking Jax, and so near our house there's like a strip of grass, and then there's like we gotta walk down the street to get to the Starbucks, get my cold brew on, my iced Americana, my ham and cheese croissant. That's all I get. But I notice he's sort of like light footing, and he's walking a lot more on the grass than on the pavement. And so I realized that maybe today the pavement is a little hot. And so the test for this, thank you for asking, is you take your human being hand and you put it on the pavement straight on the ground where the dog's walking. And if it's too hot for your hand, it's too hot for the doggy paw. So that's something that you should really take into account, is that dog paws, while different from human hands, they both have about the same sensitivity to heat. And today, so anyway, long story long, by the time everyone's up, it's usually like 11:45 noon, or it's between 10 and 2 when it's typically the sun is highest in the sky and it's the hottest outside. And so the pavement gets friggin' burning hot, scorched, brah. So if you're ever wondering if it's too hot to walk your dog, take your hand and put it on the ground. Now, you take your hand and you put it flat on the ground, and if you can last there for about over 10 seconds and it's just hot, then you're fine. But if you can't last 10 seconds with your full fucking hand palm pressed to the ground, then it's probably too hot for the dog to walk. So unfortunately, we take the dog for a walk, and we realized it's too hot. So we're just going to have to take him for a monster walk later this afternoon, probably. We usually try to do one around sunset-ish, hour before sunset, because then the dogs are really raring to go, but it's just before the day ends, bugs come out, whatever. So we end up driving to a new coffee shop, take the dog home, put him back to bed. We end up driving to a new coffee shop. My normal order is a black iced coffee, black cold brew, black iced Americano. One of those three. Not all of them. Good Lord. My friggin' eyeballs would pop out of my friggin' sockets. Although I've never tried, so I guess we'll have to try. So I go in and I'm like, hey, can I please have do you have a cold brew? And she goes, no, we don't have a cold brew, but I have a really good iced coffee. I can give you an iced Americano. Or, you ready for this? Or an iced coffee with an extra shot of espresso iced in the iced coffee. Mind explosion, absolute mind bottling. You know, like when your mind is trapped in a bottle. So anyway, I had one of those, and now I got the real shakes. Wait, this one, sorry, before we go any further, I do have to check one thing. Tanya, this one's for you. It's a really good, it's a fucking super drink, I'm not gonna lie. Tanya, this one's for you. Tanya said in our last video, I wish that you never swallow your coffee into that mic again. If I ever hear that again on my mother's grave, I will be under your bed that night, assumedly to murder me. So here you go, Tanya. Let's see what happens. I'll sleep with my brass knuckles on and, tip of the cap to you. Speaking of duel, we'll have a nice duel. Speaking of duels, big development over the last couple of days is we watched Hamilton. Holy effing S. Holy freaking show. Hamilton's a musical. It has just recently been released on Disney Plus. If you don't have a Disney Plus login account, send me a message and I'll shoot you mine. I'd heard a lot about Hamilton. Mostly this. One, it's fucking amazing. Two, the tickets are so incredibly expensive that it's like absurd. You can't get a ticket. You can't get a ticket because they're all sold out. And if you ever even got one, it would be like $500 a pop. Celebrities are going, Jay-Z. I'm not trying to outbid Jay-Z or Beyonce for a fucking, or like some sort of English or Nigerian prince for a ticket to a musical. Now, I had also heard that it's fucking incredible. And this one's on me. But typically when I hear something is absolutely incredible, I end up hating it. Because the expectations are too high and you oversold it. And the way people sell shit is they're like, it's the greatest thing I've ever seen. It's the most important thing I've ever seen. It's the best action I've ever seen. It's the best music. It's the best acting. It's the best whatever. Whenever somebody oversells anything, I immediately, or by the time I end up seeing it, it sucks. Hamilton, that didn't happen to me. Hamilton was about as hyped as anything I've ever heard of. And I sat down and watched it and it fucking delivered. It was nonstop, punch you in the face with awesome music and acting and fucking direction, and it was as incredible as advertised. Everyone's really, really just fucking unbelievably talented. The writing's incredible. Anytime I stopped and didn't love Lin-Manuel Miranda, whatever the hell his name is, Lin-Manuel Miranda. A couple of times I was like, oh, his voice isn't quite as perfect as the other guy's voice. That sucks. But then I'm like, oh, wait, he wrote the whole fucking thing and came up with the whole fucking thing and then wrote all the music and then wrote all the, so maybe I should just shut the fuck up. Sidebar, Lin-Manuel Miranda was also in one of my very favorite college humor skits. If you ever have a free couple of minutes, college humor rap battles, the first one with Shockwave. Whatever. Lin-Manuel's in it. That'll be in the title. Look that up. It's amazing. The music was absolutely incredible. It's nonstop, just awesome music, awesome lyrics. The lyrics were incredible. My favorite line, what was my favorite line? I mean, there's a million, but when the older Skylar sister, and I'm blanking on her name right now, said, I'm the oldest and the wittiest, and the gossip in New York City is insidious. Like, are you fucking kidding me? How the hell did you come up with that? The King, obviously. The King was my favorite part of the whole thing, and I talked about this on Britney's MaxBang, but The King was my favorite part of the whole thing because up until The King, it's a play, right? It's a musical, so it's an entire company of people, and they're all singing and dancing together, and there's lights, and they're all... And then suddenly, and it's like, brrr, you're getting pitter-pattered to death. And then suddenly, bam, full stop. And it's just one fucking dude. And he's walking out, and he's not even moving. And he's just singing. And his voice is so good. And you're just like, holy shit. And he was amazing. And he's got this funny walk where he doesn't move at all. He just sort of comes out like this. And I saw an interview with him, and he said, yeah, that was the crown that they had was super heavy. He's wearing a crown, and the crown that they had was super, super heavy. So the reason he's walking like that is that he couldn't like tilt his head or anything, because either he'd fall over, the crown would fall off his head, or whatever. It's mesmerizing. I got one song stuck in my head. As soon as I got that song out of my head, the new one gets stuck in my head again. Watch I mean, obviously you're gonna watch the play because I just told you to, but after you watch it, go on YouTube and listen to the songs and watch the YouTube video with the lyrics on it. It's like even more impressive. Fucking just so dense, you know? It's so dense, and it's weirdly, Lin does this thing where he uses like hip hop influences throughout the course of the play. So in the beginning, it's super like 80s beat bop, D a D a D D D D D, and then Hamilton has like a new flow that's incredible, and it's sort of like Eminem-y, and Rakim. I always get his fucking name wrong, but I had his goddamn cassette tape, so cut me some slack. When I was a little boy, my uncles were really into rap music, so they would give me cassette tapes. I had like Rob Bass and Rakim and Run DMC and the Beastie Boys, and I was like, yo, this is fucking awesome. Anyway, Hamilton was incredible. I highly recommend you go check it out, because it really lived up to everything, and it was inspiring. It was a little bit like sort of overwhelming, because it was like, Jesus Christ, I haven't done a fucking thing in my life. I'm such a loser. A, because Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote that whole thing, and then B, because like Hamilton wrote that whole thing. The one that's really sort of haunting me right now is the one where they're like, Hamilton, how do you write like you're running out of time? Like all his fucking free time is just writing shit. He's trying to form a country. He's just doing shit all the time. So now when I start slacking off, I'm like, I don't want to edit my YouTube video. It's like too hard. I'm like, damn, dude, I didn't fight in a war. I didn't fight in a revolutionary war. I didn't like, I didn't create a central bank as part of like the ability for a nation to have a line of credit and to like start up the world's greatest economy. Like, ugh, what a fucking, like, hey man, maybe like log into Final Cut and open up Final Cut and see if you can figure some shit out. Anyway, absolutely incredible. Absolutely loved it. It's a really good drink. It might be my new favorite drink. What's big in the news right now? Kanye's running for president. It's depressing as fuck. Our whole system of government is depressing as fuck right now. I think what's the most depressing, first of all, don't vote for Kanye. Fuck Kanye. All he's doing, it's pretty fucking clear, is trying to take any sort of black and young vote away from Biden. And if you don't vote for Biden, essentially you're voting for Trump. I'm sorry that it's set up that way, but our system is now basically binary. You either vote for somebody, or if you don't vote for someone, you're voting for the other guy, which sucks. It's not how it's supposed to be set up at all. I was reading a lot of interesting papers on how to ensure a third party, like how to ensure that a third party could exist and not get squashed out. One of the votes is, or one of the ideas is everyone gets 2 votes. One of the ideas is everyone gets votes on matters, and then that sort of lines up. It's an interesting sort of rabbit hole to go down, but I don't want to like bog you down with politicking. But I hate that celebrities run for president. I hate that like rich people by and large are the only people that can run for president, in my opinion, or run for office. In my opinion, the biggest problem with our political system right now, and it's pretty fucking clear, is it's a combination of term limits but more importantly, campaign finance. Like the fact that companies now are allowed to classify themselves as people and donate to campaigns is fucking insane. One, a company does not have a moral code. It does not have a sense of, I am a human and I recognize another human. A company is like, company need to make money, and anything that will help my profits is fine. If 1 million kids need to die, that's too bad. I don't care. I'm not a human being. I'm a company, so I don't see other human beings. I don't have empathy. I don't have. The The fact that they're able to donate is bonkers and drives me crazy. Anyway, the fact that once we can get that out of the way, then I think it'll be a real good step towards getting people elected who will help people. Also, one company has more than one person almost every time, unless you're fucking Bezos. One company will have more than one person, so they can give more. It's just a fucking mess. I hate our political system set up right now. But Kanye running for office is nothing more than a distraction, and I fucking hate it. And I wish people would take shit more seriously. I know a lot of people are gonna write in his goddamn name, and it's so stupid, and it drives me crazy. Please, please, please get informed on what you want to get informed on, and vote accordingly. One thing I really like doing, and again, I'm trying to be as not biased. My bias is towards people who are uninformed. If you're uninformed, then I don't think that's cool. I don't got a lot of respect for it. If you vote one way blindly or the other, and you're not informed, it drives me crazy. The reason that I got into it is that I started looking at issues that were not inherently political at all, and I looked at, you can look up voting records on any sort of public thing. That's how Congress works. And so I started looking up things that had absolutely no political affiliation and issues. And the voting record was completely split. Every Democrat voted for it and every Democrat or Republican voted against it, or vice versa, or whatever. There was no mix because they show you the breakdown. So my favorite example is net neutrality. Unless you own a telecom company, net neutrality is not an issue that you should support, or the abolishment of net neutrality. You want net neutrality. Net neutrality means that an internet service provider cannot distinguish what type of internet they're providing to you. They're just providing you internet. Sidebar, the internet should be a utility. Everyone should just have it, period. Think of it like water. You should have as much water as you need, and the rate at which your faucet should not really be up to the company, the service provider. That's how a lot of internet companies are getting around this idea that they offer unlimited internet. They offer you unlimited internet up to an amount, and then after that amount, they give it to you at like one little mini molecule per second, megabit. Net neutrality means that they can't distinguish what type of internet they're giving you. So if we go with that water analogy, you turn your faucet on and they only give you Poland Springs, or they only give you Aquafina, or they only give you whatever. Now they can turn around and charge Aquafina, and whoever wins that, they provide that type of service. How does that translate to the internet? Say you want to go on the internet, YouTube costs more money than Vimeo, or Google costs more money than Yahoo. Or if Yahoo wins, or some trash ass search engine like Bing, just kidding, I love Bing. Like say Ask Jeeves wins a contract with the service provider, then all of a sudden like none of us can use Google, and then we only can use Ask Jeeves. You see what I'm saying? Now think about that for media. So you log in and suddenly like if you want to use Netflix internet, that costs more than if you want to use Hulu internet. It makes no fucking sense. It shouldn't even exist. The only reason it does exist is that big telecom companies are trying to get it pushed through. And for the most part they did. But if you look at the voting record, it was 100% Democrat against 100% Republican voters. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be at all. It shouldn't be a political issue. Wearing a mask shouldn't be a political issue, but it is. Everything is... Blah. I hate it. I just fucking hate it. Anyway, look up voting records, inform yourself, figure out what's important to you and what party votes that way, and then vote for that party. That's as simple as that. Because otherwise you're listening to dudes who just straight up fucking lie. They're like, yeah, I support everyone having healthcare, and then they vote 20 times to abolish everyone having healthcare, or it's fucking insane. Last week we talked about the monkey's paw. I was telling you guys how I did a genie wishes video or written sketch, and I told you guys that the idea about the monkey's paw. The monkey's paw, quick recap, is you get wishes, but they're granted in like a horrible way. So, for example, you wish for world peace, and everyone on Earth just dies. It's peace. Or you wish to be rich, and then you have a lot of money, but you're locked in a vault and you die. I mean, I don't know why you have to die every time. A lot of people were talking about what wishes they would have. For the most part, they were wealth. And I think that the difference there is it's not so much that you want to be wealthy, it's that you want to not worry about where your money's coming from. Fair, totally fair. Although I will say, the reason it's called a monkey's paw is you find a severed hand, a severed monkey paw with fingers up, and every finger you wish for, a finger goes down, and then you have 4 wishes left, 3 wishes left, etc. I was talking with Brittany about it this afternoon, and it's actually kind of an interesting thing, is that you can use that perspective shift in a positive way. So I missed my plane, right? But then the plane that I should have been on, there was engine trouble, and that plane sat on the tarmac for an extra 8 hours, and I would have got there later anyway. Or, you want to book this job, but say it shoots in, Orlando, Florida. And then by the time you get there, there's all this COVID everywhere, and then you're say you get stranded somewhere else, or say you book a job, but it's in England, and then you go there, and then they won't let you back into the U.S. for one reason or another because of, So as fun and sort of Twilight Zone-y as an exercise, you take a good wish and you turn it crappy with the monkey's paw. It's also an interesting way to look at it, where you take something crappy that happened to you and you look at it in a good way. You can turn your brain around in a lot of ways. You can turn your brain around in a lot of ways about a lot of things. That's actually, as much as I bag on meditation, it has definitely taught me that you can change your perspective on a lot of shit pretty wild. So you can turn your brain around on optimism, meaning like you can choose, you can get your first you could be like me, and your first read of a situation is, well, this fucking sucks, and of course it happened to me. But then if you reframe it, your brain will actually respond to you being like, well, at least I'm alive. Or, it sucks that I got this huge bill, this parking ticket, but hey, at least I have the money, I can pay it. Stuff like that. Growing up, that was always sort of that was tough for me to do. But the more I do it now, the more I see like, oh, not only is it possible, I can do it. Sweet. I'll give you another, this is kind of a weird one. And I hope he never sees this, but shout out to my old boss at my office job. He had a very, very slight lisp. And it wasn't bad. It was and it wasn't even a lisp like that. It was sort of like a lisp, like this. How did he do it? This. It was like a whistle on his S's. And I always thought, I'm sure it wasn't bad, but I'm also sure that there's no one more cruel than a little kid. And as growing up as a little kid, I never asked him because I thought it was kind of an asshole thing to say, but I bet it was possible for sure that his growing up schoolmates could have bullied him for having a slight lisp. Kids bully you about anything. They bully you. I remember when I was in grade school, on 2 separate fucking occasions. And this is how, fucking kids are insane. They asked me if I liked a girl, and I said yes. And then they bullied me. They teased me, made fun of me for that. Separately, 6 months or a year later, they asked me if I liked a girl, and I said no. Bullied me, teased me for that. So it was sort of like, even as a little kid, I was like, well, what the fuck, guys? So I don't know, but I'm sure it's possible that he could have been bullied because of his lisp. Now, when we were in meetings with him, it was one of those situations where he was the guy, and I was like his assistant, his gopher, his second in command, but not I didn't actually command anything. I just did whatever the fuck he told me to do. So anyway, every meeting that he took, I would sort of sit there, and I would also be in it. Whether or not I had a lot of responsibility, who knows? Who cares? I would see, and I noticed that when he spoke and he had a little whistle, it made people sort of be like, oh, that's interesting. And it was a sort of a combination of what does that sound? Oh, I'm locked into what this guy's saying. I better pay attention. And it wasn't really because of the content. No offense to him. It's not really him. We were talking about boring shit. But like every time we were in a meeting and he would speak, people would hang on his fucking every word and I think it's because he had this funny little way of speaking, or a slight vocal inconsistency, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. So you want to talk about like glass half full? I don't know if he ever even fucking cared about it, but I thought it was interesting because I was like, wow, this is a funny little lisp that he has. But every time he speaks, I'm like, oh God, what the hell is he saying? I'm hanging on his every word. So I guess long story long, if you have a lisp, people are probably listening to you. If you have like a freckle that you don't like, or people are probably just like staring at you being like, wow, what a beautiful freckle that is. I can't wait to lick it. Oh, I don't know. I think that if, we're talking about changing your perspective on something, that changed my perspective on a lot of shit. Anyway. And then lastly, I want to give you a short update from the writing class. Not that it's been very world changing. It's fine. It's like a writer's group. We sort of read our sketches and we talk about what would be funnier. And there hasn't been a lot of flat out instruction. It's a lot of like little nuggets here and there of interesting approaches. And the two I sort of want to leave you with are, one, we were talking about how do you become a good writer, or how do you get better at writing sketches? And unfortunately, like I said before, the answer was just write a bunch of sketches, figure out what's wrong with them, fix them, and then write another one. Writers write. And I thought, as simple as that is, it's pretty fucking profound. Like, if you want to get good at something, you do it. You do it a million times, you get crappy at it. And you just get slightly better every time. And people start better or worse. And people get better or worse at different rates. But the one thing, and then this is another weird thing, is that you always hear about all these supremely talented people, the Michael Jordan of whatever, and you ask what the secret is, and they're like, no secret, just working hardly working, So if you're trying to get good at something, do it and then get slightly better every time. That was one of the interesting parts of it. And so I think that's going to do it for this week. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I may have had a little bit too much coffee this time. I'm feeling real jittery. But if you want to write down something you were proud of from the last week, or if you want to write down something you're very excited about for this upcoming week, leave it in the comments below. But that'll do it for this episode of the MaxBang, and keep banging.